Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Hey there, it's Larry, and I'm thrilled to share something incredibly close to my heart. My latest book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, is now available. In today's landscape where trust is harder to come by than ever, I've poured my years of experience into these pages to guide you through connecting genuinely and building lasting relationships with your customers. This book is more than just strategies. It's about transforming the way you sell by being authentic, real, and trustworthy in every interaction. It's for those who believe that integrity and sales can go hand in hand, and for anyone looking to not just meet their quotas, but to truly make a difference in their customers' lives. If you're ready to elevate your sales game and navigate the complexities of selling in a world where skepticism is the norm, Selling in a Post-Trust World is your must-read guide. And here's the best part. Even though it won't hit the bookstores until this summer, you can get your hands on an advanced reader's copy right now. Just head over to sellinginaposttrustworld.com or click the link in the show notes, and let's embark on this journey together towards more meaningful, trust-based selling.
Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Oh, first thing is, you're out of whack here. So you're not in your normal place. It's great to see you, Darrell. We're going to have a blast. Here we are. We've crossed the halfway mark of the year. Oh my gosh, things are heating up here.
It's going to be a great conversation today. We've got the storytelling right here in the studio, Steven Steers, and we're going to have a blast today. And I'll tell you what, it is a blast seeing everybody holding up their copies of Selling in a Post-Trust World. The new book, if you haven't heard yet, Larry's new book is releasing this summer, but you can actually get an advanced reader's copy. All of our friends here on the podcast, we want to make sure you can get your hands on that. And Larry, I absolutely love the comments that are coming back as people not only holding these up on social, but starting to read through the book and apply what they're learning about practical ideas on how to build trust in sales.
It warms my heart, to see the selfies, not only selfies, but now people are strategically positioning the book around. I've seen pictures of the book with food. I've seen them on a piano. I've seen them in front of a fire. I mean, it's incredible. Super grateful. But there's one person I really want to give a shout out to. And this person's near and dear to us here at Selling from the Heart, and that's Jack Hubbard. Jack's been a massive Selling from the Heart fan. He's given us an awesome testimonial in Selling in a Post-Trust World. Jack, you're a true champion. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much, Jack. And I'm thinking, Larry, here we are. It's the middle of the summer. Everybody's going on vacation, going to the beach, going to the mountains. Maybe you're flying to Europe. I want to see Selling in a Post-Trust World all over the place. So I'm just putting the challenge out to our audience. What is the most interesting place we can feature Selling from the Heart? We've seen, or Selling in a Post-Trust World, we've seen Selling from the Heart at the beach. We've seen Selling from the Heart in France. We've seen Selling from the Heart all over the world. So I want to see where we can see Selling in a Post-Trust World. So thank you to everyone, once again, who's getting that book, sharing it on social, and let's have some fun pictures. This is a movement of authenticity and trust right here in the sales profession. Speaking of all of the above, building authenticity, building trust, today we're delighted to host Steven Steers. He's the author of Superpower Storytelling, a tactical guide to telling the stories you need to lead, sell, and inspire. Steven's book is a treasure trove of insights into the art of storytelling, providing a strategic framework for crafting narratives that resonate in business environments. Steven emphasizes storytelling as a critical tool for leadership, sales, and motivation. He's going to give us some practical advice on structuring stories with emotional hooks, using personal anecdotes effectively, and understanding the audience's perspective to ensure our story inside the sales process aligns with the experience and values of our prospects and clients. Drawing on his experience working with diverse industries, Stephen provides real-world examples and case studies that bring his storytelling principles to life. It is going to be a fantastic conversation today. Stephen, welcome to the Selling from the Heart Studios. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Darrell and Larry. And I couldn't think of a better way to spend a Friday afternoon. So really appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, it's all good. It's great seeing you.
Likewise.
It's awesome.
Well, I can't wait to dive into this conversation as we get started. Stephen, you know the question that every guest in the Selling from the Heart podcast answers, and that is, get ready. What does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
It means you're helping your prospects, clients, and audience better tell their own story.
Oh boy. Hey, Stephen, this is going to be good. I wouldn't have expected you to say anything other than what you said because you wrote a book on storytelling, but it's interesting. You got to tell us more on this because we've heard it all over the 7 years. We've heard so many different answers to what's it mean to sell from the heart. You're the first one that's incorporated that. You got to unpack that for us, please.
For sure. So I think if we look at a higher level of what sales is solving problems. Right? If you're doing it right, it shouldn't feel like selling. It should feel like opening doors and letting people know what their problems are, how you can help with those problems, and then walking them through. So when I say better tell their own story, one of the things I think is the most powerful thing that draws us to things like stories or storytelling in general is that if you're telling the story right, the person who you're telling it to can see themselves in the results or the action or the narrative that you're sharing. In a sales context, if we're talking about results we've gotten for other clients, if we're talking about other people we've worked with or how other people have experienced similar problems, and then how we were able to help them with our frameworks, our books, our knowledge, our experience, now there's that social proof that you don't have to say directly that can prove itself as it exists. So when I say helping others tell their own story better, the whole point of us working together is if you're going to hire me for my services, the story of your business is going to be way more effective and you're going to be way more happy with the way that you're telling that to the people who you serve as well. I hope.
I love it. It's a fantastic answer. And I believe, and I heard this quote years ago, story is the language of the heart. And when we want to get through to the heart, I mean, look, as sales professionals, we're armed with all kinds of slide decks and brochures and data sheets and all this stuff. But it's the stories that get through to the heart. And the heart is where trust is built and sustained. And this is, I don't think this could be any more relevant than it massively is today in an environment where, as we say here, we're selling in a post-trust world right now. And I think story, the language of the heart, is really, really critical in this process of building trust.
I agree. Completely agree with you. If you look at like LinkedIn, some of the best posts are people sharing vulnerabilities that they've experienced. It's not just, hey, here's some knowledge, or I get this thing, send me your email. People want to hear from people. And one of my big philosophies in general is we're humans solving human problems in a business context. If I can't relate to you as a human first, almost 99% of the time, I don't care what you're selling because you're not going to be the right person because we don't mix as people first. And so when I met Larry, like we had like a 45-minute conversation just because the philosophy we have about how people sell is very much in line. And so I love that because I think one of the things that our profession gets a bad name, it's a 4-letter word for a lot of people for good reason, because people don't take the time to understand how to be more human and to actually sell from the heart and help people tell their stories better.
And I'm glad you brought up this human aspect because you can't spend a day without somebody talking about, hey, we're humans selling to humans, we're humans talking to humans. Well, that's pretty obvious, right? But
No,
you're correct. But let's just think through this. How many have dehumanized sales because they're hiding behind technology or automating parts of this? But it's hard, right? It's hard to connect to somebody. It's hard to connect to their heart if they're trying to peel back the layers of technology in order to have that human to human conversation. Let's think about that one for a second.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you at all. Like one of the things that I do for my clients is I review their phone calls. So I'll rank, rate, and clarify where there's room for improvement in phone calls. And one of the key things I see consistently, especially in technology companies, is they're bringing in their deck about 5 minutes into a 30-minute call and just pitching product, widget, all this stuff. And it's like, nobody cares yet. Well, you haven't asked me about me. What do I need? Why are we here? Like, what goals do I have? Give me a broader picture of what it is that I might want to achieve. And then you could talk about how you might be able to help, but not before. So I think we'll all be well employed for a very long time from the trends that I've seen.
Humans helping humans solve business problems. I think it's great because I have these flashbacks in the podcast to my first days of selling and that first 2 weeks where I had to memorize the initial presentation in order to keep my job. Thank you for investing a few minutes with me today. What I'd like for it to accomplish. I can still recite the whole thing 30 years later. And a lot of that was, and maybe we needed. It's true.
Hey, you know what? The first thing I gotta put a pause on this. The first thing I think about is Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto. So now I just dated myself. Sorry for the stupid humor. I just dated myself.
It's a great song.
Thank you very much. Hey, but in all seriousness, we were taught to do that, to go straight through and straight into the pitch deck, the pitch book. It was back then. It was pre-PowerPoint. But we were, and the rapport never really got very deep, and we wondered why everything was so transactional. Well, duh. But you just think about the power of storytelling, and I love what you put together in Superpower Storytelling. This is what we need right now. Tell us about the book. This is tactical. This is practical. This is something that people can put to work right away to improve their storytelling skills. How did this all come together, Stephen?
It came from just working with founders and teams and seeing that this was really something. How are you just selling me the product right away? You haven't even asked about me. And it's like, and they're like, why is my conversion rate down? I was like, well, I got some ideas, right? So seeing this as a really common feature, I was like, well, I think this is something people need. And anything like kind of my style is, if you're going to spend some time with me, I want to give you something that you can take right away and put into your business to see something happen. That's my goal. Anytime I do a presentation, a keynote or otherwise, I always make that promise to people. And I was like, you have to hold me to that. If I didn't, come talk to me afterwards and tell me what I missed. I think this book is a combination of some of the frameworks that I've developed over the years when I've really seen people like get it and be like, oh, you understand what my needs are. And I think to echo kind of what you said earlier, Darrell, about the Mr. Roboto comment of memorizing a script, that was in a pre-trust world. Now we're in a post-trust world. And so in seeing how people are not even taking the time to actually do proper discovery and like let people know if they're a fit instead of just selling, I was like, hey, like I gotta do my part to differentiate myself in the space by saying, hey, like there's ways you can sell that sound good, feel good, don't feel like selling, and most importantly, help your customer. And I think a story is a great way to get people on your team, to humanize yourself and humanize your products. And from there, once we get that little cortisol down, the sales resistance, we can really start to have a conversation about what you might need. And most importantly, if I'm not a fit, I'm going to tell you that so we can have my trust no matter what, if we work together or not.
Hey, and I'm glad you brought up, Stephen, the trust word in this, because regardless of what industry y'all sell into, this is what's going on in the back of somebody's head in the first couple minutes.
Absolutely.
Are you trustworthy, right? Can I trust you? How are you going to make me feel? Are you seeing me? Are you listening to me? Do you value me? Things like that. And when we walk in as salespeople, and the transactional speak comes out right away.
Gross.
Right. And we all know what that transactional speak is. You get treated like one. You get treated like one. And I'm here to tell you this. And some people are going to like what I'm getting ready to say, but it's the stone cold truth on this one. You're training people how to react to you.
Yes.
You are 100% training these people by the way you carry yourself over and over again by treating people like a transaction.
Mm-hmm. I can't argue with you, man. I've seen it. I feel gross when I'm on the phone with people like that. And then it just shows up in the results. So I agree.
Okay, well, let's get super practical here. And I'd just love for you to spend a few moments coaching us on, what makes a good story in the context of sales. How do you do it? How do you get the hook? All these things that make a story turn from average and boring to emotionally engaging and awesome. So where do you start?
Okay, well, the first thing I would say to any person who's thinking about leveraging story, my advice is take a Pomodoro. I'm a big fan of Pomodoros, which is setting a clock for 25 minutes and just doing as much as you can on any topic. Quick plug for those. That's how I wrote my book. One Pomodoro a day, at least, for a year and a half. I went through the whole process, wrote, rewrote, everything else. And I got a lot done doing that. So I love the forced focus and monotasking aspect of it. But for you as the listener, take 25 minutes and just write down any story in your life that makes you feel emotional. Things that are like, get you excited, that get you sad, things that were really difficult in your life. Just start to get those out there on a piece of paper so you can track what those things are. Any anecdote you've seen, if you saw a funny story on Instagram, just put it into a document so you have that stuff ready to refer to. And let's start there. That's the first. The second thing I would say is part of the framework, and I'm going to skip one part of it, but I want to share the most deepest nugget with you guys. There's 4 questions that you should ask yourself before you tell a story. So some people can spin really good yarns, but it's like, all right, why did you tell me that? Nobody knows, right? So I think in order to tell which story is going to work in which context, we first need to answer the following 4 questions. Number 1, especially in sales, what's at stake? So think about this as far as what hangs in the balance if somebody doesn't take an action or doesn't invest time and understanding. In a business context, we want to do 4 things: make money, save money, increase efficiency, and mitigate risk. How does your business tie back to those bigger things that a business or a business owner might be concerned about? Be able to label that. And that's the big umbrella that we're going to start with. So what is at stake? The second question is, what does your prospect want to learn or achieve about what is at stake? So let's say the example I like to cite is artificial intelligence. Everybody's got something about it on their mind. Is it going to bring us the most efficient business of all time, or is it going to replace all these jobs? Nobody knows. Everyone's curious about it, and it's got its own zeitgeist of people following along with it. Now, how do your clients want to leverage or use AI? How can you teach them to be better prepared for it? As in, what steps can people take to be successful by leveraging these tools? How have you labeled that? What should they avoid? What should they be thinking about, right? Help them understand what they want to learn or achieve about that big thing that's at stake. Question 3 is, how do you want your prospects to feel? So with the emotions, this is a thing I found funny when I was doing some research on it. It's 95% of our decisions are made subconsciously, which means our lizard brain is what makes the decision. And then we back into it with that last bit of logic. So when Larry is talking about selling from the heart, it really needs to be something that you're doing from the heart, because people can pick up on that. If I understand and see that you're trustworthy, I'm much more likely to follow along with you. And a good story crafts the right type of emotion that gets a person into that emotional environment so that they can receive the information that you're ready to share. So label how you want your prospects to feel, and that will tell which story would potentially resonate. Now, this is the place I see everybody get it wrong. I myself got it wrong for a number of years until I saw this difference. And the 4th question you need to be able to answer before you tell a story is, what do you want your prospects to do next? Label that. So what's the point of the story? You have to be able to say, hey, so now that you know this, here's how this affects you, and here's what I would do next with that information. If you answer those 4 questions, you're going to be able to go into your story bank, pull out the right story that works well for the goal you want to achieve, and then you are on your way to telling a good story.
Hey, I like this because, it goes back to what Darrell had said, stories, how we connect to heart and so forth. But here's the interesting thing. I'm sitting here listening to you, and here's the first thing. This is just what was flashing through my head is there's got to be tonality and voice inflection in story. Otherwise, I can just imagine salespeople out there delivering a story in just a monotone voice, right? They're telling the story. However, if you want to connect to somebody, where does voice inflection and tonality? I just think of a roller coaster, because you're taking them on a roller coaster of thinking through this based on your eye movement, your voice, your eyebrow raises. Is that part of this?
I think it's part of it, but this is the part where some people may differ with my opinion on this, but I can only share mine, is I really believe in sales scripts. I think they're really important. I do not believe in reading things word for word. So I'm really a big person about labeling the beats you need to hit in a call. If that means you got to read it for a little while till you get it, cool. But when I tell a story, it's like, here's the type of story that I would tell in this instance if I'm met with this objection, if I'm met with this type of information during this part of discovery. I have those listed. I do not read them. So what I mean by that is I tell them as if they're happening to me, and I tell them live. So like, I think that's a really big part. I think it's important to practice your speech. I practice almost every day. But for those that don't, I think if you just know which story you're going to tell, and then you're able to verbalize that story live, it'll have all the proper implications because you're not faking it. And it wasn't like you're an actor.
Yep.
So that's how I would do that. Again, I'm a big proponent of listening back to your calls. You should know how you sound to people. And if you really want to get good at this craft, you should be looking back at the game tape to say, oh, this is where this fell off, or that story, I went too long here, or I could cut it. You should be looking at your craft that way. But those are the things that I find that work really well. And again, if you're there in that moment telling me that story, I'm with you as well.
That's awesome. I'd love to hear an example. So what's a great example of maybe an objection or hesitancy coming up inside a sales conversation where you might apply the story to move things forward?
Okay, so there's 3 types of stories I say that everybody has. So we'll start with those, and then I'll give you an example. So the first is your mission. So what's the inciting moment that got you on this path to do this thing? Do you have a trait where let's say you're really stubborn? When was the moment that everyone started to call you stubborn? And that's a great way to say, oh, like I work really hard for my clients. I'm not going to quit on my clients. The second is vision. So what's the big thing that your company wants to do and put out there into the world? What does it look like when your mission is completed? The bigger the vision, the easier it is to get people to follow along or want to work with your company, as an example. Vision stories work great for talent. The third is milestones. These are the most human of all. These are things you've been through that are really, really difficult, that have enabled you to persist, that showcase that you continue, or they're milestones from your clients previously and things that they've gone through and the examples that you can cite. So for a quick example would be for objections, right? There's only 3 kinds. I say there's 3. They're couched in many different ways, but it's price, it's is this a fit, and is this going to work for me? They're all couched in some different version of that, but those are the general 3. So I would say for a fit question, I would say a good story would potentially be a mission story. So if somebody's like, oh, I'm not really sure if this is a fit for me. I'm an entrepreneur who has a team of about 3 people. I don't know if this is really going to work. You'd say, hey, that totally makes sense. That's exactly why I built the company. So here's a quick example. So when I was a sales rep, I worked in a software company in New York City, and I got let go. And as I got let go, I went outside to shake the founder's hand. The founder blew me off, walked down the hall, and then I went about my life. About a half an hour after I left the office, I got an email from that founder. And that founder said to me in that email, you got the short end of the stick with respect to territory, vertical, and management. Too little, too late for sure. But I think you'll be a great seller nonetheless. And I hope you had a great experience here at the company. That's why I do what I do, because I don't think founders should be dealing with these types of problems. I want to be the help that I didn't have. And so I'm specifically building this program and this service that I offer to help you not be the founder that I'm talking about here, and to help you be a steward of your salespeople's careers. So that's an example of how I would handle the objection, and that's a true story as well.
Hey, no, that is good. I like this. You got to continue. I like it. No, but
that reminds me of a story.
But it does. I mean, this is practical, real stuff here that every seller, sales manager, sales leader faces on a daily basis. And so I want to throw this back, because you got to rewind out another story. So because this is the one that sellers hear all the time. Steven, your price, it's just way out of whack. It's way out of whack compared to everybody else. Walk us through this.
Okay. Well,
dude, I'm throwing you on the spot, Steven.
I love it. Let's go for it. This is where the fun begins. I thank you for letting me know that. I think there's a couple of things. So last week we started working with Rebecca from agency in North Carolina, just like yours. And she had the exact same concern. What we did with Rebecca was we wrote out our guarantee. We showed her the exact way the program would work with her. And we gave her the guarantee that within 6 months, she would be able to at least collect 2 to 3x return on her investment. Where is Rebecca now? Rebecca is 3.5 months into the program. She has a 6x ROI already, has spending half as much time in the business, which I know you've complained a little bit about earlier, which is something you want to get out of. And she's on track to hit her first 8-figure year by working with us. So if you're asking me, for someone who's in a similar position as Rebecca was when she came to us, this is really, really good value and it's going to get you that ROI. And what's better, we guarantee that we're going to get you there.
Oh, hey, this is good. And here's a word that pops into my head. It's confidence.
Yes.
You got to be able to confidently tell this story without waffling all over the place. And you got to deliver it with clarity, conviction, all these C words, Darrell. You're going to love this, right? But what I like about it, I threw you on the spot, but you've been practicing storytelling, obviously, because you wrote a book about it. But you delivered that with meaning, so that somebody goes, "Yeah, you're right."
I mean, I hope I did. Gotta be out here. The other thing too, I think is really important, especially when it comes to objections, because we're always going to have some type of objection. But I think I'm a big proponent of how we structure a call to avoid objections into the phases. And so the only objection we would potentially really have is price at the end, which we shouldn't have as much if we've really properly established the value. So I'm without going too far into the weeds of things, I think I'm super precious on people summarizing the needs of the prospect before we get into any pitch about what we have, why we're the good fit or anything else. And I think that type of thing is important for the following reasons. Number one, it shows you're listening first and foremost. I heard what you have. Did I miss anything? Hey, can you correct me if I made a mistake? So you're in charge of this. And if they say, hey, yes, you missed this, I get to update my notes and be better prepared for what happens next. If they say I didn't miss anything, then I can say, hey, that totally makes a lot of sense. This is the exact situation I've seen X client be in when they came to us. So it gives me an opportunity to tell another story about similar results that someone got with similar problems right there. And then I can say, hey, can I show you a little bit more about how we might be able to help you achieve similar results? Now they're like,
that's pure gold. Yeah, pure gold.
You get them bought into it, and then we can get into the phase. So they see that the value has happened for somebody else. Remember, like, better tell their own story. Another quote I love, I read about this in the book. It's from a Greek or Roman philosopher by the name of Horace. It says, you need change the name and the story is about you. You need only change the name and the story is about you. So again, if you're talking about great results, talk about how you did it for somebody else. Because I want to just change my name from Rebecca to Larry to Darrell to you name it. And I can get a place like that too. So if we've structured that well, they've agreed that that those are the problems they have. They've acknowledged that we've solved that problem for somebody else, which means it's a fit, and they agree that it will work. So we've solved those 2 objections, hopefully. And now we just run through our program as it responds to those 3 magic things we've uncovered in our summary, and then walk them through and make sure that that particular package works for them. And then it's a matter of talking investment. And never say price. It's an investment, because investment has ROI. Price is just a sunk cost.
Oh, I like to say budget. It's the budget because it's going in your budget. Hey, Stephen, this has been phenomenal. I know everyone can't wait to get their hands on Superpower Storytelling. Tell us more about how they can get the book, and of course, how they can get more Stephen Steers in their life.
Well, first off, gentlemen, I want to say thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be around people who get it, because that is an increasingly rare thing inside of our profession. And I hope that you at least feel that as a younger contemporary of you guys, some of us are still out here doing it the right way that you guys are teaching. So I first off want to say thank you for spreading that knowledge and allowing me to be a part of it. If you want more of me, everything I have is at stephensteers.com/podcast. On there, I'll have a call script if you want to get a copy of it for your own use to know how to properly structure a sales call for your team. And on there, if you'd like, I do sales call reviews, and I'm happy to review one for your team to tell you where there's room for improvement. My book is on Amazon or available at my site as well. And please say hello on LinkedIn.
Oh, Stephen, you're a rock star. Thank you. Hey, by the way, this podcast is international because can I let everyone know where you're at?
Yeah, of course, go for it. Yeah, that's fine.
So I'm in my home office in Southern California. Darrell's in the South in the US. Stephen's in Mexico City. So thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Cool. Thank you for having me, guys.
I love it. Yeah. Anytime, Stephen, you're a true Selling from the Heart champion. We appreciate you. This has been awesome today. What a great conversation, and the power of storytelling. And and I love this title of the book, Superpower Storytelling. And when you get this right, it really does become a superpower in terms of story being the language of the heart and getting through to where we need to go. And there's so many nuggets in this, Larry, that this one is one you're going to want to rewind. Probably going to want to go grab this book and tear it apart. I think Stephen has shared some extremely powerful ideas with us here today.
Yeah, same here. And we all know the power of story. We all know it. Mm-hmm. But can we deliver stories, right? Can we deliver these things with confidence and clarity to get somebody to see and achieve things they don't believe they can do on their own through stories so you can better connect and relate to them?
Yeah, and I want to put a highlighter on this, especially for our friends that sell complex things. Stories make complex concepts seem simple, and you've got a lot of decision makers who may not, they don't want to admit it, but they're kind of like stuff you're saying is going right over their head. But to be able to say, hey, that reminds me of a story of so-and-so. Now it's all of a sudden you take something that's, complex and you make it seem like, okay, this is doable. This could get results. I may not understand all of it, but there's a similar situation where this has helped. And so there's so many great things to do when it comes to develop your ability to tell stories effectively with emotional hooks and anecdotes, all the things you're going to find in Stephen's book, Superpower Storytelling, a tactical guide to telling the stories you need to lead, sell, and inspire. We'll put the link in the show notes to his website and all those wonderful special offers he has for us. Speaking of a special offer, man, if you're listening in, I hope you've got your advanced reader's copy of Larry's latest book, Selling in a Post-Trust World. You're going to discover the soft skills that yield hard dollars. It's already making an impact out there, and we sure love for you to get your copy at sellinginaPosttrustworld.com.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful for everyone. I mean, this whole journey Darrell, it's been plus 7 years now that we've been podcasting here at Selling from the Heart. We've learned a lot. We've talked to many great people. We've built an awesome community. I just want to say on behalf of Darrell and myself is we're grateful. We're grateful that you've been on this journey with us, that you're waving the flag around Selling from the Heart and now selling in a post-trust world. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, we've got lots of great episodes coming up this summer. Thank you to everybody who's liking the podcast, sharing it, and most of all, leaving reviews. It's helping us drive this movement of authenticity in the sales profession. Till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, develop the superpower of storytelling, and most of all,
sell from the heart.